Welcome back, learners, to our interesting course based on the theme Rudimentary Principles and Practices of Managerial Economics. I am Dr. Shantanu Saurabh, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce, DAV PG College, Banaras Hindu University. In the Module 10, lecture number 48, based on the theme Forms of Market and Perfect Competition, we will be covering 4 important topics in this session. The first will be concept and definition of perfect competition. Second will be features of perfect competition in this presentation. Third will be covering firm as a price taker here. And fourth will be covering determination of equilibrium price in perfect competition. So one by one we will be covering all these 4 topics with you. The first topic, that is concept and definition of perfect competition. So market refers to a place. First of all, before going to perfect competition, we'll understand what is market. So market refers to a place or an arrangement where the buyers and sellers of a product come together for the purpose of buying and selling, which means market is such kind of not geographical place, but a place where buyers and sellers come together for the purpose of buying or selling their respective products. There can be different forms of markets, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, that there can be different forms of market like perfect competition, monopoly, imperfect market. So there can be different forms of market depending on number of factors such as the number of firms in the industry, competition level, product homogeneity or heterogeneity, etc. So there can be different forms of market depending on numerous factors such as the number of firms in the industry, competition level, product homogeneity or heterogeneity. So on the basis of these factors, market can be divided into perfect competition market, monopoly, duopoly, oligopoly or monopolistic competition. So in this specific lecture, we will be focusing on the perfectly competitive market, which is also known as perfectly competitive market. So perfect competition is a market structure in which there are large number of buyers and sellers of a product, which needs to be remembered. The most important feature of perfect competition is that here there are large number of buyers and sellers of a specific product, and no single firm is in position to influence the price of the goods being sold, which means here in perfect competition there are large number of buyers and sellers, and the firm here is a price taker, not a price maker, which means every firm here, that here no single firm is in a position to influence the price of the product being sold in the market. So you take prices as being established in the market. So here the price is not being determined by the individual firm, it is being taken by the market. Now concept and definition of perfect competition. According to Marshall, the more nearly a market is, the stronger is the tendency for the same price to be paid for the same thing at the same time in all parts of the market, which we have already talked about, that here the firm is a price taker. So that is being mentioned here. According to Mrs. John Robinson, perfect competition prevails when the demand for the output of each producer is perfectly elastic, which needs to be remembered and understood here, that in perfect competition prevails when the demand for output of each producer is perfectly elastic. So to conclude, we can say in perfectly competitive market there are infinite number of sellers who sell homogeneous product, which is another important feature, that here homogeneous products are being sold at a price being set by the industry, not by the firm. The prices here are being set by the respective industry, and there are infinite number of buyers who purchase the product at the set price being set by the industry. To conclude, we can say perfect competition is a market in which there are infinite number of sellers who sell homogeneous products, and the price here is being determined by the industry, and there are infinite number of buyers also who purchase the specific product at the price being set. Now the features of perfect competition. These are the features you are able to see on the screen, are the basic features of perfect competition. The first and the foremost important feature is that there are large number of buyers and sellers here. The firm is a price taker here. The products are homogeneous in nature, free entry and exit for firms, perfect knowledge of market, perfect mobility, no transportation cost and no restrictions. So these are the features of perfect competition. One by one we'll be taking all these features with you. The features of perfect competition, the main features of perfect competition are as follows. The first, the most important thing, the large number of buyers and sellers are involved here. There are large number of buyers and sellers in perfect competition, perfectly competitive market, and no individual buyer or seller can influence the price being set by the industry, which means here no individual firm or no individual buyer can influence the price. The price is basically being set by the industry. So the first point was large involvement of large number of buyers and sellers. The second another important one is that here the firm is price taker. The firms operating in such a market are price taker and not price maker. The price here is determined by the industry. The industry determines the price. If a firm sets high price for its product, the consumer will shift to other sellers, which means if you are not adopting to the industry price and you are overcharging your product, your consumers or customers will shift to other products who are offering the same product at lower price, which means if you are overcharging or if you are charging more than the industry, your customers will move to other sellers who are offering the price which is comparatively low. So the firms are forced to sell at that price which has been decided by the industry. Third point, the homogeneous product. The products produced by firm in a perfectly competitive market are homogeneous in nature, which is important and to be understood. In other words, simple words, the product of one firm is the same, almost same as produced by another firm, and no differentiation can be made. So this feature covers that the products of perfect competition are homogeneous in nature, and the products of one firm is kind of same with the product of another firm, and differentiation is not possible. The fourth is entry and exit. There is freedom of entry and exit of firms in perfectly competitive market, and this is a very important feature, that here there is freedom for entry or exit for respective firms. There is no barrier, which means there is no restrictions as such to their entry or even exit. That is the reason why there is large number of buyers and sellers in the market. As there is no restriction on entry and exit, that is why there are large number of sellers in the market. The next point is perfect knowledge. Both the buyers and sellers here have perfect knowledge about the market. The price of products sold is set by the industry, as we have already talked about, which is known by every participant of a perfectly competitive market, which means the price being determined by the industry here is known by every participant of the perfectly competitive market. So the people involved here have perfect knowledge. Also, the sellers do not spend on branding and advertisement because the consumers have perfect knowledge about the product being available. As you are aware that here the industry sets the price, the sellers do not spend on branding and advertisement because the consumers have full knowledge about the product available. The next is perfect mobility. The factors of production have perfect mobility in the case of perfect competition. In simple words, the factors are free to leave and join another firm according to their will and move from one seller to another as and when they want. So another feature was perfect mobility. Apart from these features, there are no transportation costs involved in perfect competition. There are no governmental or non-governmental restrictions in such market. However, the perfect competition does not exist in real world. This is very important to be understood, that the exact case of perfect competition does not exist in the real practical world. Some features of this market may exist in some form, but one can never find all the features of perfect competition in one single market, which means it is not possible to find all the features of perfect competition in one single market, and that is why it is said that perfect competition does not exist in the real world. So we have completed about the features of perfect competition. The features are large number of buyers and sellers, price taker, homogeneous product, and free entry and exit, perfect knowledge, and perfect mobility. Now moving to the considering the point that firm here is a price taker in perfect competition. There exists a single price in perfectly competitive market, which means there are no multiple prices in the market in the case of perfectly competitive market. The price here is set or determined by the industry, respective industry of which the firm is dealing, and the intersecting point of aggregate demand and supply curve, which means the price is determined on the point of aggregate demand and supply curve, which we are going to also discuss in this presentation. The price thus decided by the industry is taken by all the firms and products are sold at set price. This is the gist of this specific slide, that price here is decided by the respective industry and is taken or adopted by different firms and products which are sold at set price. This price cannot be influenced by any single firm. Here the price cannot be changed or altered or can be influenced by any respective single firm. To conclude, we can say that here the firm is a price taker from the industry, and all the other firms just adopt the price being set by the respective industry. Now firm as a price taker in perfect competition, I have tried to show you a tabular representation of revenue, that is TR, AR and MR in perfect competition. You are able to see the price here is kept constant, 10 rupees, 10 rupees, 10 rupees, 10 rupees, and the quantity demanded is changing from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 and 4 to 5. Now if you have a look on the total revenue here, 10, 10 into 2, 20, 30, 40 and 50, the TR is increasing gradually. The AR, as you are able to see here, is constant at 10. The TR is increasing, the AR is constant here, as well as the marginal revenue here is also constant at 10. So we can say that P is equal to AR is equal to MR in this situation, having a look on the table. As can be seen in the above table, the price remains the same at rupees 10 at all the level of quantity sold. The price is determined by the industry here, as you are able to see. This is the reason why the AR and MR of the firm also remains the same. So that is the tabular representation of firm as a price taker. In this slide we try to understand that P is equal to AR is equal to MR. Now moving to the demand and revenue in perfect competition. As you are able to see here in the diagram, that here it is demand and supply curve for the industry, and the price is adopting the same price level being adopted by the industry. The firm is adopting the same price level. So we can say that P is equal to AR is equal to MR here. That has been explained in this PPT. As can be seen in the above figure, DD is the aggregate demand curve of the industry and SS is the aggregate supply curve of the industry. You are able to see DD is the demand curve of the industry here and SS is the supply curve of the industry. E is the point of intersection where the aggregate demand and supply curves meet. You are able to see here. Here is the E point where demand and supply are intersecting each other. Point E decides the price OP of the product, which means this point P decides the OP is the price of the product, as you are able to see here. the price OP is taken by all the firms in the market. The price OP which we have calculated is taken by all the respective firms of the market, which has been determined by the industry. Since no firm is in a position to change the price, the demand curve of single firm is perfectly elastic in a perfectly competitive market, which is an important point to be remembered, that here no firm, individual firm is in a position to change the price. So the demand curve is perfectly elastic in nature, and the price is the same as the demand curve of the firm and also equals the AR and MR, which is mentioned here, that price is equal to AR is equal to MR. The firms are price takers here, and they are free to supply as much quantity as they want at existing price OP. Here the existing price you are able to see is OP, and the firms are adopting it, and they can supply as much goods they want at the price OP. So to conclude, we can say that the price is determined on the point E, where demand curve and supply curve, aggregate of demand curve and supply curve meet, and the same price OP is being adopted by the respective firm, which has been decided by the respective industry. So we have discussed this. Total revenue is equal to price into quantity. Average revenue, as we have talked, average revenue is equal to total revenue upon quantity, and marginal revenue is equal to MRN is equal to TRN minus TRN minus 1. Now, determination of equilibrium price in perfect competition. The aggregate demand and supply curves in a perfectly competitive market determine the equilibrium price of the respective market, which we have talked about in the diagram. The demand curve is downward sloping, whereas the supply curve moves in the upward direction. Both the curves move in opposite direction of each other. The point where both these curves intersect each other determine the price, and this price is termed as equilibrium price, and the quantity which is sold and purchased at this equilibrium price is known as equilibrium quantity. So altogether we can say that in this slide, the aggregate demand and supply curve determine the equilibrium price of respective market, which is being adopted by respective firms. The demand curve, always to be remembered, is downward sloping, and the other hand, supply curve is upward direction. Both the demand and the supply curve move in opposite direction to each other, and the point where they intersect, that determines the equilibrium price, and the quantity which is sold and purchased at this equilibrium price is known as equilibrium quantity. So we are able to understand the concept of equilibrium price here and equilibrium quantity. Now, tabular representation of demand, supply, equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity in perfect competition. As you are able to see, in the first column we have price, quantity demanded, quantity supplied and equilibrium point. The price is varying from 1 rupee to 2 rupee, 2 rupee to 3 rupee to 4 and 5, and the price, as the price is increasing, the quantity demanded is decreasing from 50 to 40, 40 to 30, 30 to 20 and 20 to 10. And the quantity supplied, as the price is increasing, the quantity supplied is increasing, as you are able to see, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40 and 40 to 50. So we are able to determine the equilibrium point in this table. Now if you see, this is the point at price 3, there is equilibrium, which means that demand, quantity demanded and quantity supplied is equal. When the price is 1 and 2, there is excess demand. You are able to see here, demand is 50 and supply is only of 10, demand is 40, supply is only of 20. But when the price is rupees 3, there is equal demand and equal supply, which means equilibrium quantity. When the price is 4, the demand is 20 and supply is 40, which means excess supply in this case. And when the price is 5, demand is 10 and you are supplying 50. So there is case of excess supply. So in price 1 and 2, there is case of excess demand, and in price 4 and 5, there is excess supply, which does not determine the equilibrium quantity. But at price 3, which can also be termed as equilibrium price, the demand is equal to the quantity demand is equal to the quantity supplied, which determines the point of equilibrium quantity. So I hope you are able to understand how the price is moving, how the demand is moving, how the supply is moving, and how we determine the equilibrium price as well as the equilibrium quantity. Now, the table shows the demand and supply of a product at different prices, as you have already seen here. Demand and supply at different prices. At rupees 3, the demand and supply are equal at 30 units, and 3 is the equilibrium price, and 30 units will be the equilibrium quantity. Here 3 is the price and 30 is the equilibrium quantity. At any price less than 3, the demand will be more than supply, which will lead to increase in price. Here, when any price is less than 3, you are able to see here, less than 3, any price here, when there will be case of excess demand. On the other hand, at price more than 3, the supply will be more than demand, resulting into fall in price. Here, you are able to see excess supply resulting into fall of price. In both the conditions, the price will bounce back to rupees 3, making it the equilibrium price. In both the conditions, it will be coming to this point, making it the equilibrium price as well as the equilibrium quantity. Now, we have discussed about this. The graphical representation of demand, supply, equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity in a perfectly competitive market. Now you are able to see this diagram. The demand curve is there here, the supply curve is there. On x-axis you are able to see the quantity, on y-axis you are able to see the price. Now, as can be seen in the above figure, DD is the demand curve here. Here DD is this demand curve, and SS here is the supply curve. SS here is the supply curve. You are able to see both the demand and supply intersect at point E. It is intersecting here, and this point is point E, which can be termed as equilibrium price. Thus, QE or OP is the equilibrium price, which means QE, here the QE or OP here can be termed as equilibrium price. If the price increases to OP1, which means from OP to OP1, then supply will be more than demand. In this case, the supply will be more than demand. Supply will be equal to P1B. Supply here will be equal to P1. This is the total supply here, P1B. You are able to see P1B. And the demand will be equal to P1A. This is P1A here, you are able to see, which results into excess supply, as supply is P1B and demand is only P1A, which is a case of excess supply. Supply will be more than demand by AB. By more than demand AB, you are able to see this is the difference of excess supply. This will reduce the price to OP, which means this will reduce the price to back to from OP1 to OP. In the another case, if the price is reduced to OP2, if the price is reduced from OP to OP2 here, then demand will be more than supply. As you are able to see here, it is the case of excess demand. Demand will be more than supply. Here demand will be equal to P2D, which means demand will be P2D here, as you are able to see. This is the point, P2D, the total demand. And supply will be equal to P2C. P2C here, you are able to see this till this point, P2C. Demand will be more than supply by CD. Demand will be more than supply by CD, which means from this point to this point, C to D. And this will again increase the price to OP. So in the first case, you are able to see it is a case of excess supply, and in the second case, it is a case of excess demand. and both does not result into equilibrium point. This point OP is the final point which helps in determining the equilibrium price for the respective firm or industry. So that's all for this presentation. In this presentation, we have covered basically these 4 topics: concept and definition of perfect competition, features of perfect competition, firms as price taker, and determination of equilibrium price in perfect competition. I discussed with you the meaning of market, then I talked about the features of perfect competition, in which there are large number of buyers and no single firm here is in a position to influence the price of the goods being sold. We discussed the definitions, and then we discussed the features, that there are infinite number of sellers who sell homogeneous products, and the prices are here being set by the industry and not the respective firm. Then we talked about all these features: large number of buyers and sellers, price taker, homogeneous product, free entry and exit, perfect knowledge, perfect mobility, no transportation cost, and no restrictions. We have talked all these points. Large number of buyers, firm here is price taker, which means it takes the price being determined by the industry. The products are homogeneous in nature, which means there are no major differences. There is freedom of entry and exit. The buyer and sellers have perfect knowledge about the market, and there is perfect mobility of factors of production. And another important feature is that here there is no transportation cost involved, no governmental or non-governmental restrictions. Then we talked about how a firm is a price taker in the perfect competition, as it follows the price being set by the industry. Then we talked about this tabular representation, where you are able to see the price is equal to AR is equal to MR, as we have talked about. Price is 10, AR is 10, and MR is 10. Then we talked of this diagrammatic representation, where E is the equilibrium point, and then same is being adopted by the respective firm. The price has been determined by the industry and it is being adopted by the firm. Here you are able to see P is equal to AR is equal to MR. We have talked about this. And then determination of equilibrium price in perfect competition. We talked about the concept of equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. And here we lastly talked about that this is the point where the price is 3, which determines equilibrium price or equilibrium quantity. Above that, when the prices was rupees 1, 2, there was a case of excess demand, and the price was 4, 5, it was case of excess supply. We discussed about this. And then we finally talked about the graphical representation, where it was shown the excess supply and excess demand. And this point OP represents the equilibrium price. This has been explained. This equilibrium price being set by the industry will be adopted by different firms, and that's all for this presentation. In this presentation, we talked about different dimensions of perfect competition, its features, how it is price taker, and about price determination and other factors related to perfect competition. So I hope this lecture must have been kind of use for you, and you will be implementing this knowledge in your respective area. Thank you, learners, for listening to this video, and hope to see you in the upcoming lectures. Thank you.